Good morning and welcome to Daily Cyber Briefing for Monday, the 17th of March. I'm Stephen Ridgway. A couple of vulnerabilities under attack at the moment. TP-Link vulnerability, which allows for a full system control. Most targeted is the TLWR845N model of TP-Link router. Let's say it allows the attacker to access the root shell credentials, giving them pretty much unrestricted access to the entire router. Not going to read you all of the details, however, patches available. Patch ASAP. Adobe has also announced that there are vulnerabilities in Acrobat that enable remote code execution. Three particular vulnerabilities, two of which are out of bounds read vulnerabilities, and the third one is a memory corruption vulnerability. So patches are available, but in the meantime, if you haven't patched, just exercise caution when opening PDF files from untrusted sources, which you should do anyway, because that will at least partially mitigate the vulnerability until the patches can be applied. But as always, good patch management should keep on top of those two. One of the ongoing themes that we've spoken quite a lot about over the last year or so is the imminent arrival of quantum encryption and quantum decryption. Quantum decryption being of concern because it renders currently secure encryption protocols insecure. So, for example, the latest round of quantum decryptors estimates are that they can break things like RSA 2048 within 24 hours. I think that changes the threat landscape. Now, bearing in mind, we've spoken about this, but very briefly, encryption is always breakable. It's just a case of how long it takes to break it. So the value of the encrypted data needs to have reduced to zero before the encryption algorithm can be broken. As in, information about, I don't know, market trades that are relevant today may be irrelevant tomorrow. So you certainly don't want somebody acting on it today if they're not supposed to know about it. But by tomorrow, the event will have happened, everybody will know about it, and it doesn't matter anymore. That does not need as strong encryption as, let's say, national, state secrets, which remain or should remain confidential for 100 years. Okay, so choosing your encryption algorithm, or choosing an encryption algorithm that is appropriate for the length of time that you intend the data to have value, and the data does have value, is very important. Mostly things that are protected by the current round of encryption algorithms are intended to remain confidential for mostly significant periods of time. It's easier to overdo it than it is to underdo it, because if you get if you estimate the value of the data incorrectly, or the value lifetime of the data incorrectly, that could be a problem. However, going from something which is, to all intents and purposes, unbreakable to it can be broken in 24 hours could well be a problem. So if, like me, you're interested in this arena and where we're going with stuff, which I think everybody ought to be if they're in fact, if they're in business, let alone if they're in cyber, this is worth keeping on top of. But it is fair to say that Microsoft, Amazon, and Google have all recently announced advances in quantum computing. One of the challenges in quantum computing is around error correction. Quantum computing systems tend to be, as described in the article, as fragile, and kind of probably agree with that. They are susceptible to fluctuations in environmental conditions, for example, temperature changes, vibrations in the floor of your data center. All these sorts of things may well have an impact on how reliable your quantum encryptors stroke decryptors are. Recent advances have focused quite a lot on reducing the costs of error correction, and there are indications that Amazon has reduced quantum error correction by as much as 90%, which is a huge step forward into delivering fault-tolerant quantum systems. Certainly one to be aware of. There are quantum-resistant encryption algorithms that are out there. We've mentioned this. We've been mentioning this for a while. Hopefully, listeners have been looking into this stuff and deciding at what point they're going to proof of concept it, at what point they're going to begin to think about migration, and that wonderful question as to what to do with all the stuff that's encrypted with what will then become insecure algorithms. So worth a read, because the world's moving on. If you have not yet started to think about the post-quantum world and how secure your confidential information is, I would suggest strongly you at least become informed and take a realistic, risk-based approach to what you're going to do, because it is coming. And then finally, from me today, there's an article in Information Security Buzz that I don't wholly agree with. The article is quoting the head of public sector at Checkpoint Software, who believes that disbanding NHS England could potentially leave the NHS vulnerable to cyber attack. I am going to disagree with this. I think any of us, them, you, that have any experience with NHS technology is well aware of the fact that it is an absolute utter shambles. No matter what anybody might want to say in its defence, the NHS has not done technology well, I don't believe. And if you look at the number of breaches and the amount of problems that there are in cybersecurity in the NHS, I don't believe that NHS England is the guardian of all things secure in the NHS. I think, yes, there are certain services that it delivers, unified email addresses for people in the NHS. Well, it doesn't have to be NHS England that delivers that by any manner of means. So I think that there is some scaremongering going on here. I don't believe that as NHS England is disbanded, we are going to drop off a cliff and find cybersecurity and healthcare in the UK, certainly in England, to be noticeably worse than it is at the moment, because it isn't great at the moment. In fact, there's probably even an opportunity for it to be done better. So read the article, disagree with me if you choose to. So that's all from me for a pretty wet and miserable Monday morning down here. So hopefully you're having